All right, we should be live. What's up, guys? What's up, Silver? Hope you're doing well, man. What's up, Roland? Good to see you, bro. Let's do a quick audio check. Let me know if everything is fine, and then we're gonna give it a minute before everybody jumps into the stream. And Happy New Year, obviously, to everybody. It's been a while. Yo, what's up, Hawk? 53K. I bet. What up, Navis? Hope you're doing well, bro. Good evening. Good evening. How was the weekend? It is the it's the 12th, bro. You actually make me look. I was like, shit. I was announcing it on Twitter. I was like, all right, it's the 9th. Damn. I did it 3 times wrong, right? It's a good start. So let's hope the stream goes better. Good evening, Amen. I hope you're doing well, man. And Happy New Year's, obviously, to everybody with us today. Let's see. Let's see that we got everything in place. We got EXO running both planes here. Let's get rid of the crosshair real quick. Right here as well. Arrow. And then we've got the prep. All right, we've got the prep. What's up, Samuel? Hope you're doing well, man. Dave with us as well. Good evening, man. Soa, what's up, bro? Oh, damn, I forgot to turn off the Nightbot. I need to turn that off. So 1 more minute, and then we kick it off, bro. What's up, Trader Free Mind? What's up, man? Damn these names. Good evening, Dino. Good to see you, bro. AMT Enjoyers, right? That's us. That's gonna be us. Good evening, LG. Yeah, we're gonna go, you know, we're gonna have a good week, I think. It's gonna be interesting. Good morning. Good morning. Damn. It's morning for you? Good morning, bro. Because we've got like an 8-week composite. Right. First off, what is up, everybody? Hope y'all doing well. Welcome back to the first stream of the year. It's gonna be a banger, that's for sure. Now, for those of you who have been with us for quite some time, know that I've been sponsored by Bybit. I'm running a trading Discord called Prime Trading. Now, obviously, you can just opt for payment, but we also offer the opportunity for you to just trade on my Bybit referral link, and then you can get access to everything, basically. Now, if you want to know how everything works, all you have to do is make an account on the website, click sign in, right? Enter your credentials, log in, and then you will see it on the first page. It's pretty self-explanatory. How do you say that even? But yeah, we're sponsored by Bybit. So if you do want to get access to everything that I'm using today within the stream for free, it's within the dashboard. All right. Now, that being said, let's go towards the review. Today is January 11th. TPO tick size is a reference to the tick size I'm using for my TPO profiles. It is 65. It's been 65 for a while. I'm still going to be using that. So, you know, nothing's changed. In terms of session profiles, I'm using a 30 tick session, right? For, you know, to get the poor high and the poor lows. But honestly, if we're taking a look at the previous 2 days, like, bro, let's be honest, like, you shouldn't even be trading these weekends because holy crap, that's looking gnarly, right? That's like 90.8K, like a $500 range for 1 day. All right, well, don't count me in, right? I'm doing other shit during the weekend. Right, prep. Tick size 65, news events. I'm skipping this because it's a weekly stream. We're gonna dive into the news events tomorrow within Discord. Let's jump straight in towards the longer term VWAPs to see what do we have on the higher time frames. Is it interesting, and what can we expect heading into next week in terms of the next best trades? And I'm going to be starting off on the yearly. So if we're getting a quick peek here on the yearly, we can see that this was the previous year, like it was 2024 value area high. We got the spike into it, which proved to be the actual low before we saw, you know, a bit of a two-way trade here, higher time frame range, and now we have a new yearly value to work with. So we've got a new previous year value area low, which is around roughly 87.5K. And then we've got the previous year VWAP, which is around 100K. From a higher time frame perspective, the range is between previous year VWAP, previous year value low. In an event where Bitcoin decides to, break down from that point, this is going to be a big ass resistance. And if we do that, I think it is setting up for a move lower to take out this low. Now, when we do take out this low, I'm not saying that we're going to do it, but in an event where we do take out the low, the level that I have my eye on, let me just get it better within the chart so you guys can see it. So the level that I want to facilitate trades at is around the 76K mark, right? Which is a sweep of this low into a level that we have from 2024. No, from previous year, by the way, previous year standard deviation 2, that's this line. So I think if something like this sets up, then reclaims the low, I think that's your weekly swing failure pattern for a move higher into 100K. This is still my preferred trade because to me, that's like a discount on the year, especially previous year. So that's going to be a good location to look for potential longs for a swing back into 100K. If that does not set up, I'll simply focus on the extremes of the current previous year value, which is between 100K and 87.5. Now, taking it towards the quarterly value, let me just crunch this up so we can see it. Quarterly value, especially in particular the value area low, is kind of confluent with previous year value area low. So all in all, 88-87K is going to be a sticky point. We have previous quarterly VWAP, again at 100K, confluent with previous year VWAP, 100K. So that's going to be super important. It is also confluent with the with the yearly rolling VWAP as well. We'll go over that in a bit once we get there within the prep. But all the quarterly really is doing, it is rotational between these two extremes. Should there be acceptance below previous quarterly value low, similarly to acceptance below previous year value low, that opens up the gates for 81 and potentially 76, right? Like we've been discussing about on the previous year value. Moving towards the monthly. The monthly had actually tried to break away from value, right? We tried to break away from previous month value. We had the initial reaction here. If this would have been a low, this should have been it, right? This spike into the level, then we got a pretty strong close there. Unfortunately, we couldn't hold the support, and then we just saw this slow bleed lower. Then during midweek, somewhere last week, we got like a really clean range to work with, range high, range low. We front run previous month VWAP slightly, mainly because we've got the 30-day rolling VWAP right here. Then we took out the high, nice puke lower, right? And now we're just having some sort of a two-way trade here again, some small range. But from a monthly perspective, we are rotational between previous month value area high and previous month VWAP. Now, the area where we're going to be shifting bias for this week, right? Because this week, let me clean up all of these drawings. Let's go back to this. So let me just zoom in a bit more like that. If I were to choose like a singular time frame for this upcoming week, it's going to be previous month value because it's confluent with the upcoming 8-week composite that we have in TPO. I'll go over that in a bit as well. But the area where I'm going to be shifting my bias is when we can get like a clean smash above 92K. When we can build time and space above, right? At that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be looking for potential longs and I'm going to be targeting this high, right? Simple as that. If we accept below previous month VWAP, well, at that point, we're going to be looking to go with that break from value towards previous month value, which is around 87K. All right. So the range right now is between these 2 points. And ultimately, I want to be focusing on the bigger picture, which is the current 8-week value. I'll go over that in a bit. Moving towards the weekly. The weekly isn't as clean as I would like it to be, right? Because we got the tree drive set up here into the previous week value high. The reason why we didn't really respect this to the tick was because we had value overlap with previous month VWAP. 30-day rolling VWAP were slightly down here, right, as well. So it's good to see some initial reaction here. But, this during the weekend, like, this is your time to start touching grass outside. And honestly, like, I couldn't be arsed to try and trade this, to be honest. I think bearish confirmation, let's say that before weekly close, right now we start closing down and we accept back within previous week value. That's bearish confirmation that we're running this low once more, potentially into previous week VWAP, where the real test will be, right? So let's write that out. And for those of you who are new to the streams, I see a lot of questions in the chat. I'm going to go over all of those questions at the end of the stream to maintain a continuous stream of insights here, okay? So your questions will be covered at the end of the stream. Long-term VWAPs, we are rotational within previous year value, right? Simple as. Quarterly, rotational within previous quarterly value. Who would have thought? The monthly had a failed break above previous month value high. And then we have the weekly, which is currently rotational within developing week value. That's it. Moving towards the rolling VWAPs. For that, we're going to be using a regular chart. Let's get rid of all of... No, let's keep the drawings for now. Rolling VWAPs right there. So, as you can see, we've got 7-day rolling VWAP there. And we've got the 30-day rolling VWAP there. The 7-day rolling VWAP is confluent with the recent 7-week value area high, which is going to be the 8-week value area high. And the 30-day rolling VWAP is confluent with previous month VWAP, which we slightly front run. As you can also see, like the two quality trades that we had this week were based around these levels. So we had a high volume rejection bar. Oh, I had Chinese, as indicated by this high volume point of control, right? Into the 30-day rolling VWAP, 4 longs, 4 move higher into the previous month value high, and then we had a high volume rejection bar there with a close there for shorts, right? From the 7-day rolling VWAP confluent with the 7-week value high, and we closed below the previous month value high. So the current range remains between not Indian. I mean, I had that like 2 days ago, bro. Don't worry. So the current range is between the previous month value high and the previous month VWAP. Okay, that's the current range. So what do I want to be aware of in terms of the rolling VWAPs? I want to be aware of that 7 days capping upside, and that is confluence with previous month value high. The 30-day is capping downside, and it is confluence with previous month VWAP. And then we've got the 90-day and 365-day. Like the 365-day is actually confluent with 100K. Let me show you right here. Whoops. Let's go back. 100K. Let me show you on the daily time frame here. Daily. Right. Here we have 365-day rolling VWAP, confluent with previous year VWAP, confluent with previous quarterly VWAP, right? So this, even if we're getting upside, like I think this is really going to be a sticky point, this area right here. As long as we are not able to trade above, I'm expecting this to rotate lower into these lows. Can we close above? At that point, it's going to be super bullish in my opinion, because that's the first time that we can actually break away from this range at which I'm targeting 100K, right? So that's confluent with the yearly rolling VWAP there. So there's that. Let's take a look at TPO. Excel charts. In this layout, we've got composite layout. We've got regular daily layout. We've got session profile layout. And then we've got the weeklies, right? And I want to start off on the week because that's the most important one right now. I had a great question from someone on Twitter. He said, you know what? I tend to use this as a 4-week composite. And then I'm using this as a 3-week composite. Have you been taking, notice of that? Do you use that as well? Yes, I do. But I also want to be aware of the broader, of what the overall picture is telling me. And right now, one of the rules that I have is that, yes, whenever there's a clean value overlap, I'm merging these weeks together. I'm merging these as a composite together, right? But the overall picture here is telling me, you know what? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now 8 weeks of value trying to break below, trying to break above, breaking below, breaking above. And we can't really find a sustained bid above or below for that matter, right? So we continue to remain range bound between the extremes of the current 8-week composite. So at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? Start merge, stop merge here. Let's see. Does this look like a proper composite to me? Now, mind you, what is a good looking composite? It's one with a nice beefy distribution like that within the middle. What is a shitty looking composite? That's one with like a double distribution type of, development. This is not what we want to see. This is what we want to see. And I'll be honest, this right now is looking like a pretty good composite, right? Nice distribution. We've got the point of control in the middle. So at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be using this as my next reference point, which is going to be the 8-week composite. Meaning, if Bitcoin finds acceptance above the 8-week composite, we do not want to be fading. I repeat, we do not want to be fading the first genuine breakaway from value because, right, that's going to be causing you to continue to short every fill attempt above. And you'll end up being the guy that shorts this all the way back up towards 100K. And in hindsight, you'll be like, fuck me, I should have known this, right? Because we've got time and space below the value area high, retest, and then we continue to go up. This is what we want to see for us to go long. Conversely, clean break below the 8-week value like that, time and space, retest, that's bearish, bro. Like, and at that point, we're going to go back into these lows, in my opinion. Okay? Until this happens, we're just simply going to be playing ping pong in between these extremes, right? Where point of control is going to be interesting, value area high and value area low. All right. Weekly composite, done. Let me get this in, reset all TPOs like that. Session profiles, not using that within the stream. That's something for intro week. We're going to be moving here towards this current composite layout here. Now, the thing that I want you to take note of here in particularly is this distribution and then how this interaction forms. So expand blocks and letters. All right. One of the most asked questions that I receive time and time again is, what does genuine acceptance look like to you? All right. Reset this TPO. This was happening during Christmas and New Year, I believe. Now, I think we can all agree that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-day composite, right? We've got 14 days doing nothing at all. So in my opinion, merging them together gives us a good looking composite. Let's see. Well, not let's see. This is a good looking composite, right? Boom. Big ass distribution in the middle. Good looking composite. Then what happens? What then happens is right here. Wait, give me a sec. Show. Nope. Be gone crosshair. So what that happens is we're getting an open around the value area high. Is this acceptance to me? No. Is this acceptance to me? No. Is this acceptance to me? No. However, at this point, I'm like, wait a minute. Now we're moving like a good amount of, space above the value area high. All I need now is time. And time is what I'm getting here with this consolidation. And we then get a flush lower that get capped exactly at the value area high from this composite. Notice how we are able to draw something in between. The break from value and then the retest. Look, do you guys see this gap here? This is what we refer to as time and space above the composite. This is bullish. This is genuine acceptance above a 14-day composite, okay? And then what happened was, we got that breakaway from value and went all the way back into 95K. So super clean trade. If we're getting something similar like this, but on a weekly basis, this is what I'll be looking for, okay? Above or below for that matter to go with that break from value. Reset TPO. Bang. All right. Other than that, right, is there anything that I want to be aware of here? Well, yeah, I want to be aware of this 14-ass day value area high, which is slightly below this low, confluent with the previous month VWAP and so on. That's bullish. We are rotational within a current 2-day, 3-day composite. However, right, I want to emphasize this. Even if today closes like that, as per rule of thumb, we need to be making this into a 4-day composite, right? Because we've got 4 days of overlapping value. However, weekends are really bad to add into existing composites. So whilst I am aware that this is a 4-day composite, it is much, wait, let me just reset this TPO. I'm not adding this Sunday yet. Start merge, stop as a 3-day composite. Let's say that I'm adding this day within the previous. At that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? Yes, this is a 4-day composite, but we've got 2 days, which is Saturday, Sunday. Friday was a pretty mad day as well. So I'm not going to be adding too much emphasis into this composite. Instead, I'm focusing more and more on my longer term VWAP levels, previous week values, previous month values, and so on. Okay, I think that's really important to understand as well. That being said, can we spot any anomalies here? Like, are there naked point of controls, poor highs, poor lows? Yes, there are. So right here, let me get rid of the crosshair as well. There is a poor high that got taken out today. There was a naked value area high that got taken out today as well. There is a naked value area low there. There's a poor low there. Are these the most important ones for me to be taking into account heading into next week? Nah, definitely not. But what is important to me is this naked point of control there. Because, you know, if there's going to be downside, this is probably going to be a destination. And in terms of upside, you know, maybe this 2-day composite value low. But then again, is this going to be super important for me? Because there's a 7 or potentially even an 8-week value high nearby as well, somewhere down here. Nah, not really. So I'm going to be focusing on this naked point of control there. I'm going to be focusing on the 8-week value, that we're rotational within a 3-day value, and, you know, that this value high is confluent with the previous month VWAP. And that's it. So pretty simple heading into this week, you know, until we get maybe, let's say that we get like multiple days here. At that point, I'm like, okay, you know, 6, 7, 8-day composite. Now it's time to start paying attention again, right? But I'll update along the way, obviously. Right. Writing that down. GPO formed an 8-week value. Write this down for yourself as well. We've got the value area high that is at 90.2125. This is going to be the bearish line in the sand heading into next week. Okay. We've got the value area low that is at 86.415. So as per laws of market dynamics, as long as Bitcoin is unable to accept above 92s, we need to expect 86. And whilst in this case, it might seem a bit absurd, right? We still need to be accounting for that, you know, if we're getting a simple filled auction above a 7 or 8 week value, then we're targeting the value area low, right? Simple as that. What did I say? Rotational within 3-day composite value area. But less relevant due to weekend volume. And then we have the older 14-day composite value area high confluent with previous month VWAP, right? Summary. Now that we've broken down long-term VWAPs, rolling VWAPs, TPO, like this is a lot of text, right? But if I were to break this down into, you know, a bit of a bite-sized piece of text, I'd say higher time frame, Bitcoin has failed to break away from the recent 7-week value and is now back below the previous month value area high. I think this is the most important development. From a auction market theory perspective, we need to treat this as a rotational environment until proven otherwise. In other words, as long as Bitcoin is not able to break above, I need to get a typing course, is not able to break above the 7-week value area high, it is likely to revisit the 7-week value area low, period. Short-term levels are based on the 7-day rolling VWAP and 30-day rolling VWAP, which both have overlap with previous month value. Right. Narrative. For that, I'm going to be bringing you towards the chart. This is a messy ass chart. Let's get rid of majority of that. Rolling VWAPs. No, I'm going to be keeping those. 2-hour time frame. Do I want to have that? No, let's stick to the 30-minute time frame here. All right. So, as we've been saying, we have a 7-day rolling VWAP here, confluent with the 7-week value high. This 7-week value high is going to be slightly higher once this week closes, but I will, you know, take a look at how that closes today, because maybe something happens that skews the market lower or value lower or whatever. So I'm going to be merging those tomorrow. The main narrative for me this week is that the range that we've been in is actually between, the short-term range is between previous month value area high and previous month VWAP. Any failed attempt at the previous month value area high, let's say that we do this, right? We form a low, breach the high, then we get a break in structure. You can simply go short there with a stop above the high. Similar to what we did right here, right? We breach a high, close below. You could get short there with a stop above the high, and we're targeting the lows. Now, if we get something like that, I'm going to be targeting a rotation back into the 30-day rolling VWAP, confluent with this previous low. If we're getting a break above the previous month value high, am I going to be super bullish? No, because my bearish line in the sand is up here which is the 8-week value. So for me to get really comfortable and looking for continuation trades, I need to see this time and space above 92.4-ish. What did I say in terms of the value high? 92.125. So essentially, let me get that on the chart. As of now, the coordinates of the value area high are 92.125. And this is the 8-week value area high. Right. Whoops. Let's go with that. So for me to get overly bullish, I simply need to see close above here. Then we're probably getting a fill break lower into the older 7-week. Market structure break above the previous high. I'm going to get long there. Invalidation below this low. And I'm targeting November VWAP at 95.3K. And then previous year VWAP, previous quarterly VWAP, and so on, right? Because I think a genuine break above the 8-week value, bullish. I want to be in that trade. I want to be a buyer there, right? Conversely, if we don't do the rejection there, right? If we don't reject there, and if we don't break above here, and instead we start to die down here heading into this week, I think a potential long could set up if we sweep this low. Large amount of volume, bullish displacement higher. At that point, I want to be a buyer because this to me is a failed auction below the 30 rolling VWAP. Previous month VWAP is still a bullish line in the sand for me. And at that point, I'm going to be targeting the previous month value high because I'm just going to be milking this range for as long as I can. All right. In any event, should there be a genuine break below, let's say that we try to break below and at that point we just shit lower, right? Short-term range. And then we get like a weird volume anomaly back up. We try to break back within the range. And then the 30-minute candle closes all the way down here with a fat ass point of control at the high, similar to what we did right here, right? If we get that here, I'm short. Stop above the high, and I'm targeting previous year value low and potentially the 7-week value low there, right? Because the range that we're trading within, higher time frame, the 7-week - 8-week, is between this level and that level, okay? So that brings me towards the narrative. Let's write that out. All eyes on previous month value high, confluent with, on previous month value high, confluent with 7-day rolling VWAP, and the previous month VWAP, confluent with 30-day rolling VWAP. We're rotational until proven otherwise. So I'll be shorting any failed attempts above previous month value area high, and longing any failed attempt below previous month VWAP. Conversely, should there be a genuine break from value above the 8-week value, you do not want to be fading that and look to go with that break from value. All right. That brings me towards the hypos. In terms of longs, I would say sweep lows into previous month VWAP, 4 longs into previous month value area high. Another long for me would set up long acceptance above 8-week value high for longs towards November VWAP and potentially previous year VWAP. And then for shorts, I'm going to be looking at a failed break above. And this one is a bit tricky because for shorts, I'm unsure if Bitcoin is going to be doing this or this and then break down, right? That is why I'm going to be waiting for a structure like this. So sweep a bunch of highs, form a low, spike, close below opposing candle, right? Then I'm getting short. Sweep a bunch of highs, close below opposing candle, then I'm getting short. So stuff like that, right? Sweep into high, close below opposing candle, I'm getting short. Stop above the high. Stuff like that, right? Sweep, boom, boom. There we go. If we get boom, 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 but no boom, then I'm going to be waiting, right? So we're waiting for the boom. We're waiting for the actual boom. At that point, I'm going to be touching it. All right, short break. Previous month value high for shorts towards previous month VWAP. And then short acceptance below previous month VWAP for continuation shorts into previous year value area low. All right. Is that clear for everybody? That was the prep. We're done already. 30 minutes, prep done. Any questions in regards to the prep? Let me now get through the questions. Trump also likes boom boom. He likes a lot of boom, right? All right. Let me just go all the way back up. Okay, so Redect is asking if we're above previous year value low. Let me go towards the VWAP section here. If we're above previous year value low, does that mean we should be rotating towards previous year VWAP? Yes. That's the main idea of it. But we should not neglect the fact that we are unable to accept above previous month value there, right? But the bullish line in a sense, high time frame is previous year value low. So if we get like a sweep of these lows and then reclaim it, that will be bullish for a move higher, right? All right. Why is my VWAP different? Because I'm not using a single ticker. I'm using an aggregation of multiple tickers into one VWAP. Previous quarter VWAP plus previous year. Yeah. Yep, that's correct, bro. Thank you for answering the question. Another training. Make sure you. Okay. Can you show the picture of the loss of market for market profile if you don't mind? I actually can here. I have to log in here and I don't have my credentials with me. Or I have, but I'm not going to be doing that on stream. So I don't think it's on here, right? Is it? No, it's not. It's part of the market profile course. Nah, I don't have it on the website. But I'll see if I could tweet about it later on this week, bro. 48-week composite. Redact's asking on Tuesday. I thought the big red candle was the failure to reaccept back inside value. So I long. Was that wrong? I think you're referring to the 7-week. So this right here, I think you're referring to this replay, start new right here, right? I think you're referring to this bar. Let me get this in here. So what you're asking is, well, we had that 7-week value, right? There's a lot of conviction behind this move lower as indicated by these high volume bars. The moment we fail to break back within after retesting previous month value, like this is a valid long here, right? With an invalidation below the low. However, for a move back into an empty book, take some of these inefficiencies out here. But look, range high, okay? Now, if we're taking a look at the H12, that range high has been capping upside since December 21. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on the lower time frames, if we're getting long here, by all means, this was a valid approach. Just, I think majority of the people have the wrong mindset where they long into a level and they think, okay, I'm just going to be holding on to this trade until, 500K. It's a generational entry. No, it's not, right? You long this, and then once you see, like, I think this was a 30-minute high volume bar. Like, if you don't have high volume bars, if you look at order flow, you see a large amount of bars getting offside here, right into resistance, right? Fresh up close candle before a structural shift after taking out highs. This is a bearish order block. It is right at the range high. So this was a good trade. However, if you see that Bitcoin is struggling to get above range high, which has been capping it since December 21, you need to be a bit more aggressive with your TPs, okay? So the trade itself was good, but, when new data comes in, you need to be, skeptic about this move and be like, okay, you know what? I'm closing 70% here, moving my stops flat, and let's see if you can break above the range to get with that break from value again, okay? Leave. So that was not wrong. I just think that the execution at that point can be a bit more tighter than usual once you see that we're unable to break above the range high. My point of control for the 8-week composite is lower, around 87 points. Why is that? I don't know why that is, bro. It could be because you are on a different tick size, or it could be because you're on a different ticker, right? different platform, different calculation. Maybe your point of control is time-based calculated, mine is volume-based, right? So there's heaps of reasons why that could be different. All right, that's great, man. I think I will be joining Prime Trading soon. That's good to hear, bro. You will be very welcome. For instance, we have one at 91-ish, Confluent with 365 VM. Okay, what is your question? Okay, for any of your setups, do you pay any credits towards unmitigated VWAP, something beyond the previous week? Yeah, I do. Let me just make sure that I understand your question. For instance, we've got one at 98K, Confluent with year-long VWAP and previous VWAP. This week we overcame 15 December, unmitigated VWAP 91, where there was a pause in PA before the move towards... If I understand this correctly, your question is, do I look at older values like this one here? Like one that hasn't been tagged yet, right? I think that's the question. And yes, I do. This is why I have this level plotted on this chart, right? It is the November VWAP. So oftentimes, well, not usually when Bitcoin is in a, you know, environment or in a large aggressive trend lower or higher, and I don't have any nearby values to work with, right? When we're trading so far away from the, let me zoom in a bit more. When we're trading all the way up here, my reference point for previous month value high is all the way down here, right? And at that point, I'm like, okay, let's look left to see, do we have any previous month values nearby from an older month, okay? So I definitely put like a lot of emphasis on those for sure. Let's get this all within the screen. Reset. Do you solely use TPO, volume profile, and VWAPs, just never general? Yes, I do. I combine it all. I can't. My background is actually like trading naked charts, like price action concepts, ICT stuff, breakers, order blocks, structural breaks, stuff like that. The only issue I have with just trading that is because there's so much. For me, it's difficult because if we're trading a range based on price action, right? The low and the high, like, is this range high, or should the candle close be range high, or, you know, is maybe this high range high? Or that is why I'm like, okay, you know what? Volume profile helps me. TPO helps me with that when we're having a composite of some sort. So I'm like, okay, value area highs resistance, period. I don't have to have a lot of guesswork for me to be like, okay, what is a structural shift, right? Do we have a market structure break? For example, I almost never look at market structure breaks. I just look at where is Bitcoin or any other asset trading relative to its respective VWAPs, right? The yearly, quarterly, monthly. And I'm basing my narrative on that. For me, this is easier, right? I know a lot of people who can trade really well just trading naked charts. This helps me stay in line with the current trend, right? For example, if Bitcoin fails to break back above the yearly developing value area high, as per laws of market dynamics, right, we can expect this to rotate towards the value area low, and that's what we did. So it just helps me, you know, get the bigger picture right and stay on the right side of the trend. Single prints at 83.5 is Keyser asking. 83.5, 83.5. Let me take a quick peek for you, bro. Yes, 83. No, all the way down here, 83.5. Single prints at 83.5. Like I don't really see a single print at 83.5 here. I see a poor low there, another poor low, right? So clean up, and then we've got like a gap here for potential retest as well, but that's about it. Sorry, I was watching football and wasn't really paying attention. Can you start over? Yeah, let me just delete the entire prep and then we're streaming for another hour, all right? Let me just show you the prep to you, bro. Here. This is the prep. Let me see what the next question is. Can you explain your 30-minute entry setup on time? More at which point are you going to short? For me, like, for those of you who've been with us with me for quite some time now, I tend to keep it simple. So a setup for me is purely based on price action, right? So for me, a regular setup is when we form an initial high like that, Then we form a low like that. And then we sweep into a key level. And then this sweep isn't enough for me to get short. What I need to see is I need to see a close below the close, not the low. I'm using the close of the opposing candle that led to the liquidity grab. So in this case, we go down and then up. If we do that, right, the moment we close below here, I'm entering a short and my stop is above the high, right? For longs, you know, we could be a bit more aggressive. Like, doesn't really always play out to the T. So right here, I'm not getting a close above, so I'm not longing this yet, right? This close was way too far away. So if you're trading this purely on, you know, price action and structures alone, the setup wasn't enough for me. However, if we're getting a high volume bar into a key level with a point of control at the lows, this close is enough for me to get into a trade, right? But generally speaking, I wait for a sweep of the high and then a close below the close of the opposing candle. So right here, I'm short, stop above the high. Can I find something else in terms of a bull case here? We sweep this low into the previous value low. What is the opposing candle that led to the sweep? It's this one. Let's extend it throughout time. Can we get a close above? No, 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 no. We go back down. I'm patiently waiting, right? Now here, we get a close. All right, I'm getting long. Right there. I think it was that candle. My stop goes below the low that, you know, the protective low here. My stop goes below that low. And I'm targeting whatever I want to target at that point, right? So this would have been, obviously, I would have gotten in here and exactly out at 94 because, you know, why not? So an 8-hour trade, well, probably towards range high like that. So 7-hour trade. So it just helps me filter out, you know, and be a bit more relaxed with my trading. I do not really try to be the actual high or the low anymore. Too old for that shit. How accurate is the market profile within TradingView? I don't know. And honestly, these days, there are so many platforms available that have proper data in terms of TPO. Like, you shouldn't be charting TPO on TradingView, in my opinion. It's dog shit. For me, the experience that I have with it, it's not, you know, I just don't really like it. Definitely not the same as Exo Charts, for sure. Exo Charts is, like, especially the version that they're working on, like, that's what you're seeing right now. This is a beta version that they're working on. This is light years ahead of TradingView. All right. Do you check order flow before entering a trade? Yes, I do. Let me go over that. So the trade that we had the other day around the 30-day rolling VWAP was here. And this is a typical mousetrap setup. So what we see here is we see an initial low being formed there, right? This low. A large amount of selling here coming into that low. So maybe you longed this and then had a stop out. But, you know, the large amount of selling here coming into the low. So we have a low there. What's the mindset behind this? One, people that went long into this first low, into the first attempt at the 30 rolling VWAP, they will have their stops below this low, right? Number two, breakout traders will set an alert at this low. And once they get notified, they think, okay, we're breaking lower. They get short there with a stop above the high, right? So we, the informed trader, know that when we eventually revisit that low once more, we also have an alert at that low. Like that. Once we breach into that low, and we've got some nice aggressive selling here coming into that low, right? We've got right here, 9 mil, 11 mil, 5 mil here, selling into that previous low. And we then reclaim that structure. Initiative activity picks up. Let me see if I can get some, let me check. I want to have the imbalance prints, right? So right here we go towards the low. Large amount of selling here coming into the low. And then we see initiative activity, right? We see aggression here by the buyers picking up 3 million right there above the 30 rolling VWAP. For me, we've got 1.4 million as well. Like, this is where I'm going to be entering longs there. This is obviously the, you know, the best confirmation where we get like a high delta print there. But the fact that we're sweeping this low on an increase in sell delta right there, initiative activity here is picking up. We've got buy imbalances there on the right side of the chart. that's enough confirmation for me where I'm like, okay, they're willing to bid this up. We're probably getting a reversal. And that's when we get the reversal, right? All the way back up. The most important part about this, though, is to look for these trades at the key levels, right? We do not simply look at somewhere that's like, okay, we're looking in the middle of nowhere. Oh, I see this forming in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's a shit trade. We only look for these setups around key levels, okay? That's the important takeaway from that. Can you work at volume profile and price action alone? Sure. New X on when cry. Yeah, I know, bro. I know. Soon. I don't know either. So you market in most of the time and not have limit orders? Yeah, depends. Depends. I try to limit chase, but then again, right, I don't generally want to be chasing this for $500 or whatever. So I have a limit to the amount of that I'm willing to chase this with. And then if it doesn't reach my requirements or if it goes too far, I'm marketing in. Yeah. What do you think about Kyoto Ataka? I think it's a good sushi, bro. I think it's nice. But in all seriousness, like, I haven't tested that platform. I think it's the order book thing, right? They now have stuff for the prediction markets as well. Yes, ExoChart is definitely better than Addis or Quantower, in my opinion. I'm feeling better. Yeah, thank you for asking. Okay. I think that's a wrap. We've been streaming for long enough. I want to thank everybody for being with me for this time. If you enjoyed the market review, please leave me a like. It helps me grow the channel. Do you have any discounts running for the year? Honestly, bro, the discount is here. Look, I generally can't really make it any cheaper than this, man. 900 a year. That's like, what's that? Let me calculate this. So bad at math. 900 divided by 12. That's $75 a month, right? 75. And for that, you're also getting an order flow course, market profile course, indicators. Like, I can't make it any cheaper than that, man. After taxes, that's like, what, €3 for me here in the Netherlands? Fucking bastards. Any thoughts on lit? If it wasn't covered already, I'm not generally doing altcoins during the stream. Lit, I think it was down here. Nice range. Let's take a quick peek here on VWAP. I think we can use the weekly. Previous week value. All right. So on lit, we don't have enough time, right? We don't have enough data for the yearly, quarterly, monthly. So we're going to be focusing on the weekly. This is the range there. Daily reset chart view. So obviously running right into resistance here. I think the range is here. Range, bang on there. So any filled break, any, filled there, and then a reclaim of structure. I think that's a good long. Let it base out, I think. Sometime there, everybody forgets about it, right? And then all of a sudden we get like a shift above range, and then we go for the highs. But for me, let's see how, this weekly value forms. No, we've got the alerts for the high volume bars in the Discord, like these, right? Are you referring to these? Let me go all the way back. Where are they? Like these triggers within the Discord when there's a high volume bar at a key level. All right, guys. Thank you all. Smash the likes button for sure. And I'm back. So I'll see you next week. And stay safe, y'all. Have a fantastic Sunday. Thank you all for watching. For those of you in the Discord, I will catch you guys tomorrow morning. All right? Take care, man. Peace.